Hey, everybody. Welcome to our last panel that we have for the day, our last Thought Leader panel. I'm excited for this one. I feel like with this one, we're going to get, some affirmation about some of the value that you have as educators, as people who are in academia, that there is value out there outside of the sphere of education that you ought to be kind of looking at and looking into. Before we get into that, though, let me just tell you about the remainder of the events that we have for today. After this, we have a pretty cool, we have a workshop with a startup company in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Me in3. They do video resume platform. It's a pretty interesting way that, another way that hiring is changing, given just the multitude of people that we have that are hiring. And so that'll be a cool segment there. And then also we have Facing Uncertainty, Step into Your Personal Power by Michael Michel. And so some cool career workshops. All of them have been free. And they're just really valuable resources. And we're going to be doing more after this event, I'm hoping. So stay tuned for that. Today, this is the final panel that we have, our Thought Leader panel. I've just been able to meet some of the just really cool, amazing people. Some of this this is the first time we've actually met face to face because we've just been like messaging and stuff. But it's been a really cool experience. Not like I'm an academic. I'm a researcher. I'm a teacher. I'm all those things. And I thought that I knew what I was doing when I went into the market. I would teach students about these things. But then I realized very, very quickly that I didn't understand it nearly as well as I did. And I feel bad about that for myself, because I had to go through that learning curve. But then also I felt bad that I was teaching my students wrong. And that is something that I've been dealing with as well. So I'm really excited to introduce this panel of guests. This is going to be the same format that we've done in the past. I'll bring each one on, let them kind of introduce themselves a little bit. I'll just, you can introduce yourselves in the order that you come on. And then we'll start with our first question. And we hope that you ask questions for us. Put your questions in the comments. That way we can get a really engaging conversation, because we've had some really cool stuff going on so far. And so I think this is going to be a pretty exciting conversation. And so with that, I give you our panelists. We have Marina, Erin, Lisa, and Madeline. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to try to be off camera as much as I can. And when it's time to go to the next question, I'll kind of come on and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for being here. I'll go jump off.
We introduce ourselves. I can go first.
Yes. I was like, wait, what was the directions again?
Right. We need rules here. We're going to go really rogue. So my name is Marina Byezhanova. I saw how Eric, after practicing my last name, all in preparation, decided to just skip that part in the introduction. I am in Montreal, Canada. I was born in the Soviet Union. I grew up in Ukraine. And I do a bunch of different things. I own a national headhunting firm. I'm also a career coach, and my focus is on working with people in career transition. That's my biggest passion. I know what it's like to have no network, in my case, because of, being an immigrant and having to brand yourself, sometimes having to rebrand yourselves. So it's a topic I'm passionate about, and I look forward to discussing it in this context. Erin, over to you.
Thank you. I'm Erin Quinn. I am the organizational development coordinator for our local health department here in Tulsa. I've been in that position for about a year, and then COVID hit, so that's been fun. But I previously taught career services for 6 years in more of a technical college environment, and it's really interesting to see that difference between going to school when the whole goal is you're entering this to get a job, and it's very specific. And then to compare it to my experience in academia whenever I was graduating and kind of the services that I got. So that's kind of where my perspective is coming from, is making sure that you're always just pivoting to the job that you're applying for. And again, like Erica said, is to show their value. Madeline, I guess.
All right. Well, happy to be here. My name is Madeline Mann. I am a human resources professional who led HR at a tech company and realized if only job seekers and professionals knew what I knew behind the scenes of who gets chosen for a job or who gets chosen for a promotion, they would make such different moves in their career. And so I started my company, Self-Made Millennial. It's a top 10 YouTube channel for careers. It's a top 2 TikTok channel for careers, second only to Gary Vaynerchuk. I have the fastest growing profile on LinkedIn among career coaches, according to LinkedIn Rockstars. And I've landed thousands of people career defining jobs. I have several courses where I have hands-on coaching. And it's just truly my passion to help people get these really high value jobs that pay well. And it's not even slowing down in the pandemic. You can still land these amazing jobs. And I've worked with a lot of educators who have made that transition during this pandemic. So it is absolutely possible. And so I'll throw it over to Lisa.
Hi, great to be here. So I'm Lisa Meadows. I have spent the past 25 plus years as a recruiter, talent advisor, career development specialist. Most of my experience has been in the corporate world. But recently I transitioned into providing both career leadership and executive coaching services to individuals in and out of the corporate world. Very passionate about academia. My father is a professor emeritus from UCLA, so I have grown up around academia. So it's something that's near and dear to me. And, I think first and foremost, it's the passion and the purpose that brought people into academia can be translated or converted into the corporate world or outside of academia. So there's lots of possibilities, and I'm certain we'll uncover them.
Okay, I was saying that you can't hear me, but now we can. I'm excited. Again, I feel like this is a common thing I've been saying throughout this environment, that we have such a great variety of people who can speak to this, and I'm excited to be able to learn from your expertise. And thank you again so much for being here. As we've been going through these different panels and as we've been talking, there's been two themes that kind of really been emerging, and I'll just throw these up here on the screen. That what people should be doing right now is connecting with people, and then you should also be working to establish your value. And so from your perspective, as the people who have been on the HR side, the people who have been on the recruiting side, how would people go about doing these two particular things? Like, what are some of the concrete things that they could do to move forward with this? Let's go ahead, and can we start with Lisa?
Great. Well, connections are just that, connections. And LinkedIn is a great avenue. I know some people are familiar with it, are not familiar with it. But it certainly is a space in which people with a similar background and expertise as you are there. And it's really just a matter of reaching out and saying, hi, I'd like to connect. And I've always found that people really are interested in connecting with you. I know sometimes people are shy about it, but when you reach out and you say, hey, I need some help, or I'd like to connect, I think 9.5 times out of 10 people will do that for you. So it's just having that comfort level of doing that. And then, you can then have an opportunity to speak to your value in those connections, and then take it from there as to what happens next.
Okay, awesome. Madeline, can you speak to that as well?
Sure. So I have someone in one of my coaching programs. His name is Anderson, and he was a professor for 10 years, looking to move into the corporate world. He ended up just landing a job just last week as in corporate learning and development. And one of the amazing things is one of the processes I taught him was how to make your LinkedIn headline just a way to attract people to you. So there's a lot of outreach you should be doing, but it was incredible because we went through his value, we went through the keywords that would attract his target companies. And within a few days of him updating his LinkedIn headline to show his value that he will add to the world, not talking about how he was a professor in the past. Like, I think a lot of times we like to hold on to what we were doing last versus being more forward thinking. Within a few days of changing his headline, he got someone from his very top company asking to add him on LinkedIn. He followed up saying, "Hey, what attracted you to add me on LinkedIn?" And they said, "Based on your headline, you look like someone who I could learn a lot from, or who would have a great conversation with." They hopped on the phone later that week, started building relationships. And so you need to brand yourself. You need to set your sights on exactly what your next step is. Brand yourself, claim it. Don't be shy about, I haven't done corporate learning development yet. No, claim it. And then you can then build relationships towards that.
I love everything you just said right now, because I think that that's where there's very often that gap. One, people want to sprint into action and start adding people or reaching out to people before first fixing their LinkedIn profile, so that it becomes that magnet for people to then click on it and be interested in engaging or learning more about you. So that is huge, everything you just said. I also want to add that people tend to still see LinkedIn as a resume, like a duplicate of a resume. And it's just not. LinkedIn can absolutely be where you see yourself, what you're branding yourself as moving forward. So similar to what you just said, Madeline, as well. On your CV, if you haven't done learning and development, you can't really put that you are, learning and development. But on your LinkedIn, you can put that is, how you're branding yourself. That is the direction you're going in. So before sprinting into action, so important to figure out what is your unique value proposition. What is going to be that byline or that, more modern version of the elevator pitch. Used to be an elevator pitch. Now it's just a shorter, more concise byline that describes who you are, or where you're going, what value you bring. And then you start reaching out and connecting with people, introducing yourself, etc. But it's just important to do that background pre-work first, and really figuring out the LinkedIn profile before starting to contact people.
So I kind of want to add on a couple things that Marina and Madeline said in terms of your LinkedIn. So if you're looking at it from that branding sense, your resume is really that advertisement to, like she said, hook somebody's attention and get them to want to learn more. And your LinkedIn, it's not just, they should not be seeing the exact same content on your LinkedIn that they're seeing on your resume. And LinkedIn, you can go into more depth. You can give specifics about a project that you worked on, include some metrics that otherwise wouldn't fit on your resume, because when you're so attached to that piece of paper, that is not the culmination of who you are. That is evidence of you going through this process. If you were an educator and you were teaching classes, there's a whole lot of like project management and relationship building skills that go in with that. And it's up to you to identify what those are and how they're fitting in with where you want to go. That's why I always tell people, because one thing you can do, they might be staring at a blank LinkedIn page and what do I do? What do I put on here? Always start looking at the job descriptions of the industries or the positions that you want to move into, because then that can give you an idea and kind of a framework, and know where the guardrails are in terms of what do I need to have on here to make sure that I'm attracting the views of the HR and the talent people. And then, like this whole panel is about, you have to use their language. When I was helping people create resumes in industries I know nothing about, I relied on them to talk about the technical stuff. But you have to make sure that you're using the same verbiage that you would use with anybody that maybe didn't know what you're talking about. So that's kind of what I always tell everybody.
Okay, this is something that I noticed when I came when I lost my job in higher education, and then I had to make this transition back into industry. And I asked Erin, I was like, what should I do? And she said, this is what you should do. And she's actually said, you should follow Madeline Mann and see, and do what she does. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And now we're here. And so this is something that I just did not understand coming from education. And that is the value of what LinkedIn is as a platform. Not so much as like, here's, as one person, I guess, accused me of as like advertising for LinkedIn. But it's more than that, right? It's having those relationships that are in the face of the algorithms that recruiters are using. And so we have to be able to engage in that. And so here's a question that I would like to kind of establish, like, and Madeline, to use that word, claim a brand. So how can you use LinkedIn to claim a brand? Madeline, let's start with you.
Sure. So you got to soul search before you job search. I think that if you are putting out your feelers for too many different jobs, you're not sure what your next move is. You can see that on a resume. You can see it on LinkedIn profile. You need to start getting a bit focused. So Anderson, for example, he was focusing on learning and development in corporations, but he also was open to some HR business partner roles as well. So his umbrella still, he widened it a bit, but you need to get a bit focused. It's absolutely right. You need to, your headline should be the value add to the world, not your previous experience. And then, as well as, you can also take inspiration from other people who are in your space. Look at the keywords they use in their profile, look at the language, look at the job descriptions that are related to it. And then you can also start building content on LinkedIn, posting about these industries that you have, or commenting on those people who are in your industry and really interacting with them. People think that a job search has to be all about cold outreach, but it's incredible how when you have a warm LinkedIn presence where you're interacting on the platform, it's no longer a cold outreach. Because if they've seen you comment on something, even me, who I have, quite the sizable following on LinkedIn, I still remember the people who take the time to contribute and have a conversation with me. And so really thinking about, how can I, get those people on my radar? Make sure you're hitting follow. You don't even have to connect with all of them. There's a button you can press to hit follow. And then really, I even sometimes bookmark those people and go back to their pages to see if they've posted anything. So just be exceptionally proactive.
And I want to touch on that connection aspect as well. You have to be authentic in your connections. Like, you have to be you, because if you're not building that brand in your way, they're going to have a perception of who you are. And then you show up to the interview and there's that disconnect between who you presented yourself to be and who you actually are. And that kind of plants that seed of doubt from that employer's perspective. So like you said, do some soul searching before you job search and figure out, what does true, authentic business connections, networking opportunities look like to me? Because it can feel really awkward when you start doing it, but eventually you kind of find your stride, and it's actually really enjoyable to interact with people that are in your same space that have that diversity of thought as well.
And to add to that, Erin, be authentically positive.
Yes.
I think people from academia are known for being sometimes a little bit more skeptical, or a little bit, open in interviews with, I can't believe that, I never did I think that I would be transitioning out of academia, or have that a little bit of an air of a chip on the shoulder. I'm saying it lovingly. My whole family is academics. My sister is a professor, and I'm saying it lovingly from a lot of communication with also her peers, etc. One of the cool things about LinkedIn is that it is an inherently, at least for the time being, a really positive platform. It's not Facebook. It's not a platform for rants or for complaints or for negativity. It's really positive and it's really supportive. So if you come in with that mindset and that openness and that, actual honest desire, authentic desire, as you said, Erin, to connect with others, people feel it and gravitate towards that. So if you were feeling authentically grumpy, it's good to shut that a little bit and soul search, as Madeline said, before you job search. That was such an awesome line, by the way. That's really important. Another thing is, a lot of job seekers tell me, I don't want to be generating content on LinkedIn because it's so noisy already and it's oversaturated. And the thing is, it's really not, because we know that only less than 1% of people post on LinkedIn really frequently being more than 3 times a week. So if you do become really active on the platform, yes, there are a lot of people posting, but the algorithm puts the top posts first. It doesn't go in the order of the time of the day when it was posted. And you might notice on your LinkedIn, if you're already on LinkedIn, that you're always seeing the same people at the top, right? Even though so many people are posting, it's those people in the 1% that are constantly sitting at the top. So with that strategy and with generating content, you put yourself on people's radar. And same as is the case with corporate branding, it's the same with personal branding. It takes us at least 7 times on average to see a brand before we recognize, before it registers, right? For any brand. So the same as for a personal brand. The more people start noticing you, the more of a chance that there will be that brand recognition for you in their minds.
Yeah, Lisa, what are your thoughts as well on this?
Completely agree with everything my co-panelists are saying. I think for me, as a leadership and as a career coach, we talked about this a little before, is really about mindset, right? So everyone who's in academia didn't just wake up one morning and say, oh, I want to go into academia. That's my life. You all went into academia because of a passion, a purpose that you want to share with not just a small number of people, but with a wider world. So it's important to still connect and actually now have a deeper connection with your passion, your purpose. What is it that you are here to do in this world? And so when you can connect with that and speak to that, just as you did when you were looking for jobs in academia, you can do the exact same thing in opportunities and the world outside of academia, right? So it's really a matter of a mindset about your own individual values, your authenticity, and what do you have to bring to the table. It's the same things that you brought to the table in academia that you can bring and will bring to roles outside of it. And, we talk about knowing your why. I tell my clients, I know what you do, I know how you do it, but I'm really interested in why you do it. And it's that why that will speak to why you are going to be such a great person for this particular role.
Okay, I think that I love where this conversation is going, and I think right here there's a really cool question that somebody just asked, which I think would be an opportunity too to kind of speak to some of the services that you offer yourselves, and that like where you have found to some of these other resources. So right here it says, thank you for these awesome suggestions. Are there some resources online, articles or videos to learn some of the basics of branding on LinkedIn, like some of the things that you have found helpful, or some of the things that you yourself offer? I saw this that Madeline just posted as well, right? She has an amazing YouTube channel, and that's one way to go. And so yeah, let's go with that. But Lisa, do you want to start us off this time of some of the resources that you have, or some of the ones that you have found particularly helpful?
Me. I could say I'm the resource. Not to be funny, but, I work with my clients one-on-one and provide that resource to them of really connecting with themselves so that when they go out into the world, into the job world, that they show up authentically. In the, outside of academia, you have so many things that are can be going against you. And it's important to understand and to recognize what those are so that you can be prepared to deal with them. Otherwise, you face them and then you're just like stuck. So you don't want to be stuck. You've got to keep moving forward. So, you know, there are various, like Harvard Business Review has some amazing articles just about leadership, career transitions, you know, new areas of opportunity and industries that people are beginning to notice. So for me, you know, I would say again, because I'm a little different than everyone else, you know, me as a resource is my value add. And then certainly looking at LinkedIn, different types of online courses that are being offered through LinkedIn and other places, I would say would be of value. Madeline?
Sure. So I put out just an insane amount of free content. You can head over to my YouTube channel, Self-Made Millennial. And I also, you know, there's over 130 videos there. So they go from LinkedIn to career discovery to basically helping you with every single question you'll need to answer in the interview. And I also put in the YouTube chat a free masterclass on how to land six-figure jobs. For those of you who are looking to not step back in your career, but actually escalate it forward, I'm going to walk through every single thing that on my side that are what I call competency triggers. So it shows to employers, wow, this person is really worth a lot and we need to actually compete for them, versus you going to companies being like, please interview me. No, they're coming to you. So yeah, lots of resources out there. And also follow me on LinkedIn, LinkedIn/in/Madeline Mann. I post a ton of free content there as well.
I think one thing that maybe people don't realize is that just like in our larger society, there are trends in hiring and recruiting as well. And just like Lisa mentioned, Harvard Business Review, I read that every morning. I am one of those people that actually pay for unlimited articles. But when I was creating career readiness curriculum as well, I recommended many of the panelists that you have on, Kyle Elliott, Madeline, and Christy as well. So it's really making sure that you're finding those people. I guess it's sometimes you have to change the message, or you have to change the messenger in order to get the message. So find the people that you really connect with that are on LinkedIn, and maybe somebody else delivers it in a way that you understand better. But Harvard Business Review and just being on LinkedIn, commenting, just absorbing yourself in that environment, that can help you stay up on how to answer those questions, what employers are looking for, because it's kind of a secret language. And if you're using something that's antiquated, it shows that you are not up to date. And where else is that going to show up in your skills, whether that's relationship building or you actually doing your job? But also it gives you the frame of reference when somebody in an interview says, okay, so tell me what kind of leader you are, then you know exactly all the different facets to that answer and what would help make you stick out as the perfect candidate.
It's interesting because a lot of people ask, you know, should I do it on my own, or should I get somebody, should I work with a coach or a consultant? And there's really no one single answer, right? Because
it's kind of both.
Right? But it depends, because there is an incredible amount of free resources that are real high quality free resources. So to say not just free, we're used to the fact, you know, it used to be anything that was free online was clickbait, right? You would get it and then you're like, okay, well, they just wanted my email. It's not the case anymore. You get really, really high quality recommendations, tips, everything that you would get from a really top-notch consulting. It's the same as when you're deciding, you know, if you want to improve your fitness, are you going to do it on your own and download videos and look at that and, you know, create your own program, which you can, or would you like to have somebody who's also going to guide you, who's going to keep you accountable, who's going to be a sounding board to you, then you get a coach, right? So very similar, but so many different options out there. I love what you said though, Erin, of just spend time on the platform. You know, somebody can help you set it up, somebody can give you pointers, but unless you really become into it, you won't really stay the course. You're going to abandon it eventually.
And I can just, I think I can just kind of speak to that as and this is what higher ed was like. This is not something that I could have done on Twitter. This is not something that I could have done on Facebook. This is something that I was able to do on this platform because I was able to identify people by their professional brands. I was able to say, hey, I can align myself with that person and kind of see what they do and then try to mimic that, but then also like make sure that I'm making it my own. And because of that, we're able, again, like to build off of this. And this is just what the potential of connecting with people and just really understanding your value, just in general, I think is one of those core things that I want people to take away from this. We're going to take another question right here. This one is from Samantha, and then we have a follow-up question. So how about this? We'll take, if Marina and Erin, if you want to take the first question, and then
Sure.
Madeline and Lisa, you can follow up with the second part. So I'll throw this on here. It says often HR routinely asks for years of experience or a degree directly for the position in question. Should we bother applying if we don't meet those requirements, if we know that we could do it well?
So I think you should still apply. I think if you choose to apply and they're asking for 3 to 5 years experience, then again, it is your responsibility to show how you have that experience. It may not be in that titled position, but if you're able to check the boxes next to what they're asking for, then you have that experience. It's just coming in a non-traditional way. But a lot of the times unless it's like 5+ years of experience, those requirements are there to make sure that you're weeding out the people that just one day woke up and was like, hey, that sounds fun. Let me go apply to it. And so it's really that pre-screen, that very first screen, because if you're going to go after it, you're going to look at those degree requirements or those experience requirements, and you're going to say, I can still do this. And so you're already having that confidence in yourself to go after this opportunity. So yeah, I would absolutely apply. Just remember, you have to show them on why your resume is even worth looking at and making sure that it aligns with their job description and the skills that they're looking for.
I would say absolutely do not apply. That would be my recommendation, but I'll tell you why. The job ads are just not the way to land the job these days. The chances that you're going to even get an interview by applying to a job ad is incredibly low, and it's just a killer on self-esteem and motivation. We've just crunched the numbers. If 100 people apply to the same job ad, and now we're seeing hundreds of people applying, you have a 1% chance of getting the job, 1%, if it's 100 people. It's 0.5%. If it's 200 people, of getting the job. If 5 people on average are interviewed for the job, your chances of getting an interview is 5%. My clients are getting 500 to 600 CVs per ad that they're posting. So we know that on average, recruiters spend 6 to 8 seconds reviewing a CV. Oh, it's less now. We're looking for that ideal fit. We're not spending time looking at, who fits, who could be transferable, and nobody reads cover letters. Let's just say the truth, right? We require them, but we don't read them, but they're required. You don't send it. Oh, it's disrespectful, not, poor form, but do we read them? No. So what I suggest is forget about job ads as much as possible. But if you see a job that on, job description itself, you don't match every single line, but you're interested and you feel that you could do the job, don't waste your time applying, but should you reach out to the hiring manager to introduce yourself and communicate your value? 101%. So that's how you're going to stand out. Just clicking apply and submitting your CV that just won't fit the little box, that maybe a junior recruiter intern sits there reading, they're not going to understand. Like, they're just not. It's just the truth and the reality. And the first screen is often done by somebody who is in a very junior role, right? But what I recommend that to job seekers across the board. So one, create content so that people come to you. That's the real, right? The ideal focus. If not, reach out directly to hiring managers, surpassing junior recruiters, surpassing HR that might not understand. If it's not a senior HR person, they might not understand the value. I say go after that job, but directly through the hiring manager. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. I feel that this next comment it fits actually really, really well with this. So here's because right now we have like, yes, apply, and no, don't apply. So I want to hear what Madeline and Lisa say, because and I think it goes to show, like, and so here's this question right here. It says, building on Samantha's question that we're answering now, can you explain your abilities in a letter about, but how, okay, let me just read that again. You can explain your abilities in your letter, but how can you get your resume past HR if it mostly reflects academia? And I think it's really important to recognize that this question, right, reflects academia. And that, like, just like what Erin said before, that there are trends in hiring that come and they go. And so making sure that we understand that the way that HR and recruitment works is very different than what we've experienced in academia. And so even just questioning the way we ask our questions is a really cool thing that we can do. And so, yeah, I'm excited. Madeline, Lisa, what do you have to say about should you apply?
So I have a little bit of a different perspective. So, if you see a position posted on LinkedIn, sometimes now LinkedIn will actually show you who the recruiter is or who the hiring person is. It's typically not the hiring manager, but it's someone in talent acquisition or recruitment. So my suggestion is, if it shows who that person is, reach out to that person through LinkedIn. You can send them a message and, speak to the fact that you saw the position posted. You are going to apply, and maybe just bullet point some of the highlights of your experience, even if it doesn't align 100%. If they're looking for 3 to 5 years of experience and you've got 2.5, let's say, or you've got 2, but you've been really successful and you can speak to your success, I would say still go ahead and apply. Nowadays, as Marina said, there's so many people out there applying for positions, you do tend to go into a black hole. So my recommendation is, if you see an opportunity posted, particularly on LinkedIn, you can do a little bit of research and find out, who's in that position or who you think that position might report into, and reach out, try to make a connection to that person. Again, it could be the recruiter, and let them know that you're interested. Would they be open to having a conversation with you? Because the truth is, once you apply, yes, it does go into a black hole. The question then becomes is, how do you pull your resume out of that black hole and really speak to it? So that's why I'm saying it's kind of 50-50. But as being on the corporate side, being someone who's actually written job descriptions, hiring managers will say, we want the world. And we as recruiters, though, know that they're not going to get the world. If I can find someone that's got 7 out of 10 of the skill sets, I'm interested. But to Marina's point, now you could be reading 500 resumes. So what is it about your resume that is going to stand out? And I would definitely say at the top of your resume to maybe speak to your expertise. So a recruiter doesn't have to read through your resume to see your expertise. Maybe have it at the top and have that stand out. And again, do your best to try to connect to whoever the recruiter is or other people in the organization that you're interested in.
Yeah, I would say that I think all of these approaches are good. I would say if you all try what I'm about to say, it's going to make you very uncomfortable, but it will get you a job. So what I want you to do is make a list of your top companies, approach at least 10 people at each of those companies, ask to hop on the phone with them, and really have it be an exploratory call of really understanding how maybe they transitioned into that job as well. What are they looking for? What are some of the biggest challenges they're facing right now? And truly build meaningful relationships with them and be bold enough to hear about what are their challenges that they're working on, go home and work on some of those challenges. Not necessarily that you're going to do work for them, but really give them, create some sort of work product. I have someone who's in one of my courses, his name's Scott, who was a teacher moving into graphic design. And he really got to know people in these different companies. I had him bring his resume to a bunch of people in his top companies and ask, what would you need to see on here in order for me to have a chance in this type of industry, in this type of role? And every single time he got a piece of feedback, he iterated, he built really excellent graphic design products and showed it to these people. And so if you just start showing instead of telling and building relationships instead of sending out resumes into systems, you will start to get traction.
And I think we also have to kind of acknowledge that the first person usually it depends on the size of the company that you're applying for and the level of position that you're applying for as well. Because usually if you're applying to a large organization at maybe a mid-level position, the first person to look at your resume is not a person. It's a robot. It's the applicant tracking systems. And just and this is why I always go back to that job description, is using their words to make sure that you're clicking off and gaining those points on your resume in order to make it to the next level, to have an actual person look at it. Because and I saw somebody talk about government in here. There are HR processes that people have to follow, especially in government. And if that's where you're wanting to go, you do have to follow the rules and play by these processes that they've developed. So I think it's really, again, like so many other things have been said, you have to identify what you want, where is that going to take you, and then what can I do to make sure that I am showcasing myself as the best candidate for this position in this industry based on my background.
Okay. That was fantastic. So this is again, I think kind of a question. I think it's really cool in telling like some of these questions that are being asked, and just like recognizing that there is a transition on translating a value. And so I'm going to pull up a question, kind of make a comment, and I would love to hear what y'all have to say. And then this will probably be the last question that we have. And so, or before our Q&A. And so if you have a question, go ahead and submit it and we'll go from there. So this is from Andrew. Says, if I'm graduating in December with my PhD, but beginning to apply to non-academic jobs now, can my cover letter be on the university letterhead or should it not be? And here's what I have learned, right? This is what I need to learn to accept. This is hard for people in academia, right? Is that your value is not and should not be tied to your university. It cannot. So, I mean, just abandon that notion. And so I kind of see everybody kind of like, yes, yeah, of course. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts on that, everybody?
Yeah, it's a little bit soul crushing to tell people, but 60% of the reason why you're going to get a job is because of your experience. 30% of the reason is because of the relationships you build, and 10% is due to your knowledge. And so that, I think it also, obviously, there's jobs where you have to get a degree. You have to get a degree to be a lawyer, get a degree to be a doctor, whatnot. Like, I'm definitely not discounting that. But the reason you get the job is not because of the letterhead. It's because of what have you accomplished? What value do you bring to the table?
Absolutely. And I would add on to that. It really, really hurts to hear that this degree or multiple degrees that you've spent so much time and made so many sacrifices for, nobody cares about it as much as you do. Like, nobody cares. Show me how you have put this to use, because in business or in industry, the biggest thing sometimes is the bottom line. So, okay, you can talk all day about these concepts and theories, but how have you developed a program? How have you implemented it? And how is that going to work out for me when I have to foot the bill for this? So it's making that shift from being excited because you can play in this sandbox and do whatever you want, you just have to find the money for it, to the idea of, okay, here's what we need to do. Here's why we hired you. Here's how much money you have. So there's a lot less individualism in industry. And I think academia kind of really celebrates individualism, which is great, but it's a little bit uncomfortable when you have to go fit into a corporate box when you're not used to it.
So I would add to that, depending on the industry that you're in, your academic background does play a big role. If you are looking into biotechnology, or some of the major pharmaceutical companies, I did some recruiting for Amgen. They do care what university you went to. And they will specifically want or ask to look for individuals that come out of that particular universities. So I think it really depends on the industry that you're in and that you're looking to go into. So I would say, as we've talked about, I mean, you've worked hard to achieve the degrees and the accolades that you have. It's important not to discount that. That is part of who you are. And we talk a lot about value. That's part of your value. So I would encourage you not to discount whatever your education is. If you choose to do a cover letter on your university stationery, I would say go for it. The other thing I would also say is, as you are looking at opportunities, particularly if you're using LinkedIn, you can also look to see what individuals may have come from your university. And if there are any, then that isn't, I mean, immediately people will connect with you because, you have that connection. Someone that graduated, 10 years ago, knowing that someone has come up the ranks from your university, happy to help. So LinkedIn does tell you, depending on, it'll say like you went to this university and there are 10 people that work at this company that went to your university. So definitely look for that. But your education is part of your value add.
And
it's
your
not going to
story
be
as well.
the maker.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And again, depending on the industry that you're looking to get into, it is very important.
Yeah, I agree
If
with
you're
a few
going
things you just said, Lisa. It's quite true. There are a lot of positions or companies that favor candidates not only with degrees, but with advanced degrees as well, right? So it depends on the position. I think it's also a really important and interesting idea to tap into your alumni network. They say your network is your net worth. And sometimes we graduate from university, we feel a bit poor in that respect because we feel everybody in the business world knows each other. I don't, but you do have the alumni network to tap into, and that automatically gives you a common denominator, which is what networking, real true networking is all about. But Andrew, my answer to you is it really does not matter whether your cover letter is on university letterhead or not. Nobody reads the cover letter. People who open it.
I definitely disagree with that.
I
will
read
say
them.
you
I
can
read them.
I would definitely say that I think that is very true for many companies. It's almost, I think you flip a coin. Someone the person either always reads them or never reads them. So I think it's absolutely true half the time, but half the time I've seen cover letters change the game for people. So sorry to cut you off, but I just want to make sure.
I haven't seen it at all. Haven't seen a single person tell me, oh, it's this logo or it's this whatever. It's not really it doesn't make it or break it. That's not what's going to impact Andrew's search whatsoever. I think there might be something behind that desire to use university letterhead. And I think that's a deeper and more interesting conversation of, is there that complete attachment to the identity of an academic and the difficulty distancing himself from that identity, and something that Erin was talking about, and shifting to this new mindset and this new identity that you're adopting. That's a really interesting discussion. Whether you're going to put the letterhead this or that, or you're going to put your name in blue, red, or yellow, that's so minimal. It's so not impactful on your search, but could be a value add to you, because that is your brand. That is part of your personal brand. As Lisa said, that's part of your story that you're bringing to the table. But if you're too attached to yourself, your identity as an academic and the researcher, this is not the identity that you're moving into. That's a much more important and deep discussion to be having. But an interesting question. You can see it elicits a lot of different responses and different opinions and different reactions.
I've just been sitting here off camera. I have really been enjoying this, because here's what it comes down to. for every listener that I think that is here. Here's what it comes down to: is that finding a job is work. It's going to take work. We cannot expect our credentials to equate instant value. It's not something that we could have relied on before, and it's not something that we especially can rely on now. And I'm just going in and making sure that you're, because every job description, every industry is going to be different, and what you have to do is learn it. You have to go in and try, and that it's going to take a little bit of humility on your part as a job seeker, and that's what I've had to deal with. And so, yeah, thank you so much. That's the time that we have. Thank you so much to each one of our panelists. You are all just amazing people. Thank you for joining me and having this really engaging discussion, and like just some fun disagreements that, you know, have great answers all around. And so thank you so much. I'm gonna wave goodbye and say thank you. And you guys say goodbye too.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Great to be
Thank
here.
you. Okay. You all are just wonderful. I'm gonna try to click in the right places this time to make sure that I don't mess anything up like I have. That was the first time I've done that without incident, so I feel pretty proud of that on my very last session. This was the last thought panel that we had for higher ed for this event. I've been so happy and so pleased with how these are going, and people are getting involved, and just some really great people in the world that want to help you, that want you to be listened to, and that you have value, but you need to figure out how to translate that value too. It's going to take some work. It's been work for me. So here's what we have for the rest of the day. We have at 4 o'clock, happening just in a few minutes, we have Me and Three, represented by Sarah Austin, who is giving us a video tech on the future of hiring. And then we have Michael Michelle, Facing Uncertainty, Step into Your Personal Power. And I want everybody to know that we're going to keep doing these events, not to this scale all the time, but it's going to keep on coming. So thank you so much for being here, and look for more.